What is up, Internet? Nerdlocker.com here with this week's comic book reviews. And I'm starting off with Forever Evil #2. I was a huge fan of #1. I really loved Trinity War leading up into this. So right now this book still has a lot of promise with me. This issue, we see more of the crime syndicate and what's going on with their relationship. There's a hooded guy they have. They call him the pick up that hitchhiker. Like, they're kind of joking. But obviously he's important to the crime syndicate. Owlman and Superwoman want him killed. They're like, he's too dangerous to have around. What if he comes after our team again? Ultraman's like, don't worry about it. We need to keep him in case something that was chasing us through this portal comes after us. So there's a lot of question marks popping up. Being that this is a big event book, being that it's Jeff Johns, I'm assuming there's a lot that we haven't seen yet, and I'm really excited to see what comes out of this. We also see Lex Luthor kind of preparing to fight the crime syndicate with a secret weapon, which is awesome. I'm so stoked for that. I don't want to say what it is because I love it, and it's one of my favorite things ever. But so far, this issue's awesome, or the series is awesome. Johnny Quick takes care of the Teen Titans. They're involved in this. Something big happens. I'm assuming we're going to see play over into the Teen Titans comic book. But so far, this is awesome. This is what I want out of a big issue book. There's a lot going on, but you're not giving everything away. So it makes me feel like when I get to the end, it's going to be a complete story. We're not going to fizzle out to nothing. So right now, still totally on board with this. The artwork's beautiful. Love you, David Finch. Love you, Jeff Johns. This is getting 5 out of 5 Nerd Skulls.
Hey guys, Kirby here with my comic reviews for this week. I got to read The Star Wars #2, and I gotta say, it's very, very cool. It's very awesome. It's very cool. That's all I'm gonna say about how awesome and cool it is. It's unique. It's different. I have no idea what's going on, what to expect. So I really like that I can get that in this time and age, in this day and age when everything's just kind of like a remake and the same story I've read a million times and an adaptation of this, and oh, I've read this already, or these guys already fought, or you're redoing this. It's kind of like the same story. It's the basis of something that we all love and cherish, but it's still cool to see it done this way and all the characters and what they do. And you're kind of getting a sense of how these characters act. Like, you know, first issue is just an introduction of a lot of people. And this one, it's a little more introduction into their personalities, to who they are, how they match up with their actual characters. And I really like that Starkiller Anakin's character is different from Darth Vader's character. It's really cool, and I want to see where that goes. So I'm excited for this. This was an awesome book. It was drawn magnificently. It looked gorgeous. The models, the face actors that they used were really, really good. Like, at least whatever Mike Mayhew chose to use was really, really awesome. So props to him for that. Props to the good story. I'm going to give 5 out of 5 Nerd Skulls.
Hey there, nerds. Jim here with my review of Quantum and Woody #4. Now, if you've been paying attention at all, you know I love this basic reboot, remake, whatever you want to call it, because I love the 90s. I love what they're doing with this one. James Asmus has done a fantastic job of just changing it up from what the original was, changing the storyline just a little bit, keeping the funny parts that were in the original, but changing it up just a little bit so it's fresh. My favorite thing are the villains. We get 1960s James Bond villains with characters like Hazmat, who, yes, wears basically a hazmat suit. How awesome is that? And Betamax, who's like a cyborg who is stuck in the 1980s technology and is afraid to upgrade and that he'll die. It's hilarious, and that's the humor that this book has. Now, Quantum and Woody are still on the search for who killed their dad and who was after the technology that their father was creating. And that's where they run into the ERA, which we were introduced into the last book, and that stands for Edison's Radical Acquisitions. It's basically a collection of kooky scientists that had interesting inventions. And right now the leader is a woman who invented cloning back in the 1950s. I love how goofy that is. The other great part is we're finally introduced to Darwin the goat. It's one of their inventions. We don't exactly get to see his powers, but we get to see Quantum and Woody freak out at whatever his powers are. I love that because Darwin the goat is from the original, so that's a lot of fun. We wrap up some loose ends here. We find more about the origin of why Woody left in the first place and why there's animosity between the two brothers. I love that. And it goes back to their father basically trying to raise two sons on his own. This book is fantastic. I highly recommend you pick it up. James Asmus is doing fantastic work writing this. I'm going to give this book 5 out of 5 Nerd Skulls.
All right, next up, I've got All New X-Men, number 17. This is Chapter 6 of Battle of the Atom. There's another event right now that I think is just killing it. With the events of last issue, we see Magic and the original Iceman and Beast go into the future where our X-Men team has come from, and things are not all that the X-Men team has built them up to be. We kind of get some backstory as to what has happened in that future, but not exactly why Beast, Xavier's son, Kitty Pryde, and Zorn are all in our current time. So you start seeing something happening, but we just don't know what yet. Other than that, we see this other team of X-Men, which is awesome. A lot of characters, a lot of new characters. That's the thing I love about the X-Men is when they do these time-traveling stories and anything like that is you get to see different versions of the heroes you know and love and who's died in the future and who's... I know it gets confusing sometimes, and with some books I hate it, but I think X-Men is the one family that's allowed to do that whenever the hell they want. And I'm still loving this. I can't wait to see how it ends. I'm giving this 5 out of 5 Nerd Skulls.
All right, guys, Could Be here with my review for Hunger, number 3. This is an awesome little mini-series event kind of leading up to Cataclysm, whatever they're calling it. I don't even know. It's the Ultimate Universe, and it's hard to keep track of that at this day and age. But it's still pretty awesome, centered on Rick Jones. I like his character. I like what they're doing with him in the Ultimate Universe. The fact that they got rid of everyone else, or at least a lot of people that you really love and care about, it leaves him open for you to love and care about him. And he's an awesome dude that doesn't get enough play in the regular Marvel Universe, I think. But anyways, he's the chosen for the Watcher, so he has all these crazy mystical awesome powers, and he's helping out the Silver Surfer fight Galactus, or the new incarnation of Galactus, which is actually... or Galactus, which is actually the original Galactus. He's all time displaced because of Age of Ultron. It's confusing. This whole book's confusing. It's nuts. It's just all over the place. He finds out Peter Parker's just dead, but that happened 2 years ago. It's what is going on? It took forever to come out, so it's a little weird, but the story was pretty cool, and I feel like Rick Jones is a cool character to get along with, to get on a level with, and he finds out something happens in this issue that's whoa, dude, you got to step up, and he does, and it's cool, and I can't wait for the next issue. So check it out. I'm giving this 4 out of 5 Nerd Skulls. It's pretty dope if you like comic books.
So the other book I got to read this week is Lazarus number 4. I am really stoked about this book. I went into it just because it was a number 1, had no preconceived notions. Man, what a surprise. We pick up right where we left off with the 2 Lazarus from Moray and Carlisle having been blown up. And we're back in the Carlisle compound where the scientists, James and Bethany, are watching develop and how it's going to go. And they just see life signs kind of bleeping back. And obviously Forever didn't die. But then we go with Jonah and Johanna, who were conspiring and all this cool stuff. And we don't know why they're going against the family. And it's just amazing and very, very interesting to watch because everybody thought in the beginning it was the Moray family, but it's not. It's all within the family. We see Forever and Joaquin basically survive a elite squadron as they try and finish them off. And we see some double backstabbing, if I can get that far, within the family once again. So a lot of intrigue. I really can't wait to see where this is going. I have faith that they have a full outline. I love the character of Forever. I think she's fantastic and her relationship with her father. I'm pretty sure the father has an idea of what's going on. He's letting the siblings play it out, and basically whoever survives, that's the winner. So I'm going to go ahead and give Lazarus 4 out of 5 Nerd Skulls. I cannot wait to see where this one goes.
All right, I got to read Swamp Thing, number 24. This book is still going strong, which makes me happy because I was kind of afraid that when Scott Snyder hopped off the book, it wasn't going to do as well, but it's doing just fine. All is good. We actually find out who the Cedar is, if you've been reading. This is kind of the guy he's been going up against, but he hasn't really seen him face to face yet. We find out who he is if you are unfamiliar, if you're reading it and you're like, where's he from? Make sure you read the Swamp Thing annual last year. They'll fill you in on everything. But this is an awesome book, and it kind of sets up for what we're going to see in the future of Swamp Thing with the Cedar and Swamp Thing. They throw down, things kind of get out of hand, and then the Parliament of Trees kind of goes, hey, listen, this is what's going to happen, so get ready, Swamp Thing. And I think this is cool because I feel like we're really going to get to see the character grow in the upcoming issues. I get it, grow, because Swamp Thing. Either way, I'm giving this book a 4 out of 5 Nerd Skulls.
All right, guys, so I got to read all new X-Men special, the return of Octavius, I'm really confused on this book. It was really cool though, because it reminded me of the Runaways. There has not been a Runaways like title in a while, and it was like a bunch of teenage kids because it's the all new X-Men. It's the X-Men from the '60s. So it's like all these kids and they're doing their thing. It's all Hank McCoy and him dealing with his thing, and he meets this really cool chick, and it's the teenage like love affair kind of thing, like that whole aspect. But then there's like a giant fight with a gamma irradiated Doc Ock from back in the day. Like he probably got time displaced with everyone else. Superior Spider-Man shows up, and the Hulk is like previewed. So I can't wait to see where this goes. And this first issue was really talky and like, blah, blah, blah. I like this girl. This girl's awesome. Let's fight this dude. Oh my God, we did this. Spider-Man shows up, and it's kind of like, I want to say it's formulaic. I've seen it a million times. I've read it a million times, but it was cool. And like someone who's maybe just getting into comic books, who's a little younger, who wants something not so deep and heavy and dark and crazy, would totally love this book. I think that's the best book to kind of like jump into something like this, a big event that's going on like this, bringing someone back. I feel like they're bringing, who back. So definitely check this out. I'm gonna give this 4 out of 5 Nerd Skulls because it was actually really, really entertaining, and the artwork was really cool. Yeah.
All right, I got a chance to read Green Lantern, number 24. I guess this is the first part of the Lights Out thing going on with Relic. Relic is a really cool villain, and I like what he's going to present to the cores, all of the lights. And I really like Hal Jordan finally having to step up and just be like, I'm in charge of all of this. And he starts making decisions, he starts doing what he has to do. And it's really cool. I hope this story arc goes well, because I think that's what's going to determine whether Hal Jordan stays the character he's been all the years that Jeff Johns had him. But right now, Robert Venditti, you are doing an awesome job, and I'm loving this book. I can't wait to see what the conclusion of this is. I can't wait to see what this means for the future of all the Green Lanterns and all the Lantern Corps. So I'm giving this book 4 out of 5 Nerd Skulls.
All right, guys, so I got to read Marvel Knights Spider-Man number 1, and it's written by Matt Kindt, who is actually a pretty good friend of ours here at Nerdlocker. I got to interview him at Comic-Con. If you did not know about that, what's up, Matt? Nice reading your book. It was pretty good, actually. I was really enjoyed it. It's nice to read a Marvel Knights book. Usually they're completely out of continuity. They're kind of crazy and experimental, and you can see some crazy artists, some crazy stories, crazy writers. Like a lot of cool things happen, and this starts off pretty intensely. Like essentially, Peter Parker is, I don't know if he's kidnapped by Madam Web or like she warns him at the beginning, and the art is just very reminiscent of like J.G. Jones, not a J.G. Well, yeah, kind of like J.G. Jones and like J.H. Williams, where same kind of like textures on the faces, but then like the panels and the layouts and like the words and all over the place. And I mean, he takes like a crazy drug right in the beginning of it, and he's just tripping balls the whole time. So it's awesome. But the entire time he's tripping, it's like messing with his time perception, and he's getting attacked by like Morbius and like Man-Wolf and like all these crazy horror villains. Like he rips Frankenstein's head off? What? Like it's nuts. It's cool. It's setting up like this weird, crazy, awesome throwdown with a ton of villains, which you can't wait for. Because Spider-Man fighting dudes like that is always awesome. And it feels like it's actually Peter Parker and not this bullcrap Otto Octavius Peter Parker. So check it out. I'm giving it 5 out of 5 Nerd Skulls because it blew me away, and I think you guys should all read this.
I got to read Bedlam, number 9. This book is still a lot of fun and still really horrifying. This issue, we kind of get to see more of, I guess, the mystery behind everything. There's big characters involved in this, and I don't want to reveal anything going on. It was one of those issues. I just don't want to reveal anything that's going on because I want you to read it. So it's going to be, it's a vague review, and I apologize about that. But this book continues to just be violent and gory and awesome. and I love this book, and I can't wait to see more. Nick Spencer is killing it. I'm giving it 4 to 5 Nerd Skulls.